Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to this week's edition of Inside Furman Athletics. Moved up a couple of hours, and I think Coach will be able to explain why here in just a moment, but coming off of a tough Saturday at Western Carolina and looking forward to what's always a tough Saturday at Wofford this week. We'll have all the broadcast info for you coming up in just a bit. Joining Coach Clay Hendricks are players Riley Herbert and Luke Pettit, and as always, we'll let Clay open with a statement, and Tom Van Hoy can ask the first question.
Okay, thank you, Dan. We're going a little earlier today. Get an opportunity today to go to really a memorial for Margaret Covington, wife of Dwight Covington. I don't know how many people out there knew that Margaret passed, and after a 2-year battle with ALS. And Dwight meant so much to Furman, to the athletic department. Loves Furman football. Patrick, I had the good fortune to be able to coach him when he was here. He was a heck of a player here now in coaching. He actually spent the first 2 years with me at the academy when I went there to coach, and was able to take a young guy with me, and he did a phenomenal job. He's out doing great stuff now up at East Tennessee State. But we got a memorial service there for Margaret today, and so if you certainly keep the Covington family in mind going forward. As far as the game, my hat's off to Western Carolina. They just they beat us every way possible. Outplayed us, out-physicaled us, and out-coached us, all those things. So my hat's off to them. Certainly disappointing day. Kind of a strange game, the kind of way it played out. I thought I thought defensively it was really kind of a tale of two halves. I thought we played really solid defensively the first half. I think it was nothing into the first quarter. Offensively, a little bit of combination of some poor offense and poor special teams, particularly punting the football. Gave them a couple short fields. I think we gave it to them on the 41 after a short punt and a return. Got a fourth down stop. Caldwell Bussey made a heck of a play on 4th and 1. We moved the football. Throw it in the end zone, and I thought it should have been a touchdown for us, and it ends up being a pick for them. And credit their kid for making a play. We get 2 3 and outs, against them. We had a couple of sacks on him, just kind of doing things, kind of like we wanted to do. And then, again, offensively, you turn it over 5 times. I'm not sure I've ever won a game when you turn it over 5 times. Maybe I have. But especially when the other team doesn't turn it over at all. We had at least 3 opportunities to get picks in the first half. For a guy who hadn't thrown a pick, I think Billy maybe picked it off the 4th play of the game. We get a really bad, we did it, grabbed the guy, absolutely no reason to grab the guy. We would have had a pick there. We drop probably it's going to be a pick 6, and then had really another opportunity. And so that's just kind of how the game went. And then second half, obviously defense played really poorly, kind of got, I don't know. We made a good drive to get back in. We kind of felt like we had a chance to get back in the game. They had lost some leads earlier in the year, and then second half, they had 4 drives for 4 touchdowns. We throw a pick 6. We throw 2 picks in the end zone. We had 2 drives with the ball inside the 5. We got no points. We fumbled our own 28. So you cannot continue to do that to your defense, especially against a really good team. But again, for me, the thing that bothers me most just got out physicaled, out toughed lots of way, and certainly the execution part was not very good. Certainly Trey had a tough day. He's played really, really well. I think Trey's strengths are his ability to make throws, his accuracy, and certainly had a rough day. With that, I think kind of how we started the game. So we're going to, it's one game. I kind of was reminding our team, I actually went back and looked. It was a year ago this week. Our conference champion from a year ago, who had a really good team, went up and lost 55-35, down 42-7, I think, at the half to a team that went 4-7. So it's more about how you respond. We didn't all of a sudden become a bad football team. We played really poorly, about as poorly as I can remember. We got to fix some things. We got to get the right guys on the field, whether it's special teams, O&D, and then obviously going to have to play against a team who has As we've won a bunch of close games, they've lost a bunch of close games, and we all know in those games is one play here or there. So we certainly got our work cut out for us this week, but I also think our guys will respond. We got to have great practice starting today. We've had fall break the last 2 days. We had a little more Monday's typically off for us anyways today. Met a little earlier. We'll practice a little bit earlier today, but, it's a matter we got to go practice better. As coaches, we got to be, there's an old saying about you either coaching or tolerating it. And I don't think we're coaching it, so we don't need to tolerate it either. And so we just got to get our best guys out there. And, I heard Dan Campbell say the other night, I was watching their game, and we are that team now. When we get a chance to make a play, we got to make a play. And we're not making many plays. I went through our entire staff and had them tell me in that game who did something maybe a little bit above and beyond. I think we could come up with about 5 plays. And 2 of them were short yardage runs by guys we didn't block very good, and they made really good runs. So we're not making enough plays, but when we get a chance to make plays, we got to do that. And to do that, you got to practice that way. So, we're going to go back. Fundamentally, we're not where we need to be. We got to continue that. But it goes back again. You can't get out physical, and people can't play harder than you did. And I think the opening kickoff was probably a good. We had a bunch of chances on kickoff return. We felt like we would, and one guy doesn't do his job or is not physical enough, and so we got to fix that. And that's our goal this week. So with that, we'll take any questions you may have.
Well, Coach, it doesn't happen very often to lose a game like that, and you've done it a long time. Is it difficult to keep an even keel and not overreact to a game like that?
Yeah, I think so. I think so. Like I said, we'd done some really good stuff, and I thought we were continually making progress till Saturday. And then you even look Saturday, there were times I felt like we moved the ball really good. We just couldn't string enough plays together. And we just kept putting our defense in bad spots. And, we let them throw 2 balls over our head. Really, they threw 3 balls over our head. They dropped one of them. It's just basic stuff. It's just football fundamentals of it. So, yeah, you try not to overreact. But, the video is what the video says, and at the end of the day, you are what you put on tape. And, we are what we put out there. There was some good stuff, but certainly not nearly enough good stuff.
Coach, injury is obviously part of the game. Every team has to deal with it, and you're dealing with it right now. Seems like another concentrated area, your receiving core. You're missing some principles, obviously, even going back to spring when John Holbrook got hurt. If you can kind of cover that for us.
Yeah, I told our guys yesterday we got kind of who we got, and, I felt like even Saturday, we still, obviously losing to Keith, 4th play of the game. That was a big hit. Kind of what we kind of had planned. Had some other guys step up. Evan was out there Sunday, and he's getting better. And Keith, I won't play this week. But yeah, Ben Ferguson really had to retire. We obviously lost John in spring. We've had some other nagging things, but everybody's got stuff this time of year. But we got enough guys, and a lot of guys have been productive. It's a matter of, the thing we got to do better, and whether it's that room and, when cutting routes short, and against every position, I'm just saying receivers, but, I don't, it seems like this year's a little bit of a broken record every week. We have we don't get to the sticks on the first, a 3rd down conversion. We cut a route short. Complete the ball. We only had 4 penalties, but a few of those did hurt us. And team that we played had 15 penalties. You'd think 15 penalties, it should be hard to win games. But, we're going to head out there today, and, we still got plenty of guys who can go make plays for us. So we'll continue to work, try to get better.
Clay, what is there? This is 2 straight years that Western Carolina has won big. I remember last year is that Western had more offense than Ole Miss last year. What is there about Western Carolina that gives you fits?
Well, I don't know. The last 2 years it's been that way, but you can go back and look at the record there. That happened lots of times. Now, I'll say this in the nature of college football, when people spread you out and the ability to throw the ball around and do that. But, Saturday, you can say what you want. We had 5 turnovers. 5 turnovers and wasted, and I'm telling you, all those turnovers changed the game. If we catch the first ball, we're up 7-0. That's our second series of the game. Again, we throw 2 picks in the end zone, 2 possessions inside the 5. We got no points and had ability to change, but we made it easy for them. And, to be honest, we let a quarterback, the backup kid, scramble for 65 yards at the end of the game. So I do think this, we got to respond when some bad things happen. I think for the most part we've done a pretty good job. Guys, we've been in a bunch of tough games, tough situations. It snowballed on a Saturday, and then we didn't respond very good. How really the biggest challenge for us Saturday was them running the football, which they hadn't been committed to doing that. We made them one-dimensional through about the first quarter and a half, and then felt, in their halftime, hey, let's go get a stop. We'd move the ball. Well, we didn't get a stop. I think they went 75 yards in about 6 plays. Then they did it again. So the pick six, was a huge play. It's just a really, really poor decision, and punt it right there, and it's 17-0, and I don't know, maybe that's probably how it's going into the half. And again, but we just continue to make bad plays, or not make plays, and so I don't know. I try to. Again, I've been beaten before, and certainly the score that bothers you, but we were kind of our. Again, I don't take anything away from them, but we were kind of our own worst enemy a lot of the day. So,
Coach, the team you're playing this week, Wofford, their record is not competitive with what the team is. They've lost 4 games by 8 points, and the only game that was a blowout was against Virginia Tech, which is an ACC school. What's your thoughts going into this game, knowing that this team has played very well? They just hadn't been able just to get that one score or that field goal, I guess you could say, to get them back to where they would be a winning program right now.
Well, I think every game's kind of like that. They had every opportunity to beat Western the week before. I just think it's kind of hard to compare scores, but you're exactly right. They played really good defense when you watch them all year. They played really good defense. I think maybe the third quarterback they're playing is he played his first game the other day. He gave them certainly the most production they've had in the passing game. I think that's probably been where they've been struggling, just the ability to complete some balls. They've got a lot of transfers, so lots of new faces. Always played good defense. They play really hard. They're sound. They, not overcomplicated, really on either side of the ball, and that's giving them a chance to make plays. And so I really see kind of no difference between the two of us, other than a little bit of where we're a little different schematically. And so we'll be in a hard-fought game. We got to find a way to get a win, just like we've done a number of times this year. And all those things we want to do kind of are out there in front of us. I told our guys we got five conference games in a 6-game season, which we'd like to extend, and we got total control over that. So it's just a matter of going and having a great practice. But there's some things obviously we got to address and got to fix.
Coach, I was going to ask you this exclusively, but I think it would be good for Raleigh and Luke to kind of weigh in on it as well. They probably won't get the reference, you and I will, and that Herb Brooks coached the 1980 Miracle on Ice hockey team, famously told his team, you don't have enough talent to win on talent alone. And there's talent on this football team. We know that, but as we know, you can't just roll your helmet out there and expect the opposition to fall down. So how do you start Riley and then Luke and then Coach, you can kind of wrap it up, but how do you take not just last week, but everything that's happened so far this season and use that to become a better football player? Because you can't just go out and out-talent everybody.
Yeah, I think it just starts with, learning from each game, each practice. So you want to have that mindset of where you go out to practice and you put everything into it, and then you come back and you learn from it. You learn from the good, learn from the bad. And it's the same thing that happened this Saturday. There was a lot of bad, but like Coach said, there was also some good that we can take from. And I think it's just putting all of that together and spanning it into one day, and that's Saturday.
Yeah, I think you're completely right. We're extremely talented, and we're talented as a team, but anyone who's played football knows it takes detail and execution every time you go out there. And like Raleigh said, it's taking these practices and being more detailed each practice and coming out each day and figuring out how to put that talent best to use to help the team and just growing off it each and every day, because 11-man game, everybody's got scholarship players, Division I. You're not going to win off talent alone. It's going to take elite level of detail and execution and everything to win.
Yeah, I mean, Dan, heck, I guess this is my 28th year coaching here, not counting the 4 I played, and I spent 10 years at the academy. I don't know if I've ever been – we've had some teams, if I think about it, where I feel like we're more talented than some people. It hadn't been very often, and I knew that wasn't the case last week. Now I think things pretty even sometimes. We've the history of our program, I feel like when we've had success, it's getting guys to play at a high level, from an execution. Again, we talk about not beating Furman. Man, we did everything we could to beat Furman Saturday. And the other team was good enough without us doing that. So it takes buy-in, and if your main role in our team is to be a gunner on the punt team, then you need to embrace that role. We're not embracing stuff like that well enough right now. And it shows up. It shows up on the field. And, injuries are part of the game. Turnovers are part of the game. But, again, that's how you beat yourself, turnovers and penalties. And just turnovers Saturday was just again, you can go back and look. You don't do those things well. You lose 5 possessions, and you keep putting your defense in bad spots. We got the right guys in our program, and we got talent. We just got to coach them better. And, again, you can coach it or you can tolerate it. So we got to coach them better. We got to become a better fundamental team. And, again, when you get a chance to make a play, you got to make a play. And, right now, I've said that all year. We've left points on the field all year long, and we got our chances on defense to get our hands on the ball. Man, we got to make that play, and like I said, Billy made a heck of a play on the one. It gets negated because fundamentally we grab a guy. So that's the stuff we got to do better, and it's got us to winning, be in a good spot prior to Saturday, and if we can return to those things that we were doing well and build upon other few things, and there's nobody on our schedule we cannot beat. So
I got questions for both players. I'll go with you first, Raleigh. A year ago, you played a good bit, started several games. But this year, your role's changed. I mean, you're been a full-time starter since first game, and to be elected a co-captain as a redshirt sophomore, how do you see your role, evolving? With this year's team being elected a captain as a redshirt sophomore, and talking about you've got a lot of company among redshirt sophomores on this team who are really playing a lot more starting now as opposed to a year ago. And Luke, I wanted to ask you. You've played all 3 positions in your time here, obviously mostly at guard, but you saw some action at center and you've played a little bit of tackle. And not asking you to tip your hand too much for the guy sitting to your right, but which position is your favorite? I would think guard, but I'll let you touch on that. But Raleigh, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just thankful for all my teammates that I have to, select me for this position. I mean, it's a great honor to have, especially like you said, as a redshirt sophomore. But I think a lot of that is just being the kind of guy that, wants to do everything he can for the team. And I've told the guys before, I mean, I'm not trying to do anything crazy. I don't want it to be a power trip, but I'm going to be the guy that's going to push you to be the best. And I think I can still do a better job of doing that, especially last week, during the game, I feel like I can do better, and there's always still things I can improve on. So just moving forward, I think that's kind of what I'm going to challenge myself to do, is just to be better every week at that position.
Being blessed to have been able to play multiple positions. Honestly, I can't say I really have a favorite. I've enjoyed playing them all. They're all very different, but I'll take the easy way out. And whatever position gives us the best chance to win is my favorite.
This is for both Raleigh and Luke, and I think Luke, Raleigh, you touched on it a moment ago, but after a tough loss like that, how important is leadership within that locker room right now?
Yeah, I mean, I think leadership is everything. The best teams are player-led teams, and I think the more leadership I can provide and Luke can provide to the team, it's just going to make us, one step closer to being Wofford this Saturday. Just kind of getting everybody back on track, kind of having short-term memory and, just being able to move on, reinforce confidence in our guys and have them ready by Saturday.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think something we kind of talk about, at least in the line room, is you can't let a team like that beat you twice, meaning we can't let that team and that loss affect us going forward. We got to, like Raleigh said, instill confidence and remember, like, we are a talented team and we are a fully capable team, and those are the things we have to keep working at day in and day out to just make sure we can execute on Saturdays and, constantly reinstill in our team that we are that team who's capable of doing those things.
Also, for Raleigh and Luke, in sports, everyone overreacts. Media overreacts. The fans overreact twice as much as we do. But when you get beat like that, there's a period. What I'm asking is when you got on that bus and headed home, how long did it take you to get your chins up again?
Truthfully, I'd like to say, right after the loss, as soon as we hit that locker room, I think part of being a man and being a football player is understanding that, you are not your performance. We are not simply the Furman football team is not what we put out there on Saturday, and we got to know that. We've, put in work all year, in the weight room, in the field, extra work in the film room. We know we're capable, so we can't get down on ourselves and think that is us, but that's just a performance one day of the week, and that that we can control that through how we practice, and really understanding that it's on us, and we can control how we perform, and that we controlled how we performed then, and that's what we put out there.
Yeah, I guess I'll just add to that. This sport requires so much work, and you don't get a lot of opportunities to go present itself. So, when a result like that happens, it's easy to, get down on yourself, but I don't think it's really ever acceptable to have your chin down. I mean, that kind of just leads to more issues. So kind of like Luke said, I mean, you got to have a short-term memory, pick your chin up. And again, you got to learn from what happened and go back and obviously be your harshest critic, and, just learn from what happened and be better the next week.
Coach, yesterday circumstances worked out where you and Coach Spangler got a chance to meet Sid Bream, who was coming in for a fundraiser for the ministry that I have, and I don't know if I've seen anybody as excited as Coach Spangler was to meet Sid, but when he spoke at our event last night, he talked about the impact that his college coach, I think Al Worthington at them was Liberty Baptist College, had on him when he was struggling early in his major league career, and how even then he was the guy he went to for support, knew that his coach was going to challenge him even when he had made it to the big league level. Who did you lean on when you were a young coach, and who do you lean on now?
Well, my coaches throughout time have been the most impactful people in my life, other than my parents. And guys, I had I was a ninth grader, a guy named Steve Savage, first year coaching. He was at our game. He was at our game with East Tennessee. He retired a number of years ago, but his first year I was a ninth grader, and he was there. In fact, we started and I brought him. I made him come in the locker room with us. Obviously, and Coach Sheridan, all those guys, Rob, I could just sit there and name anybody I've been associated with. Troy Calhoun's had a great impact on me, my time there. So I think it's always those coaches. They've always been really good men, great men, and I don't know, we've always tried to model, tried to do things. Been blessed to be around those kinds of guys, my whole career. And, certainly a faith's important to me, and I have an unbelievable wife that's, you talk about a calling as a coach, man. I tell you, a calling is being a coach's wife. She actually was out of town across the country seeing our youngest this past weekend, so she wasn't there, but she's the first one that called me, afterwards. So I don't know. I just continue. Guys, Saturday's life, Saturday, I'm going to memorial service today, and you tell me that football game Saturday, is more impactful than today. No, and I just think it's keeping things in perspective, and I mean, we're all going through it. We try to teach this to these guys. That's what's so great about our game, is you have days like Saturday, and it prepares you for other things that you have to deal with, and you learn from it. You better learn from it, and I think our team will. I'd be shocked if we don't go out there and have a great practice today. I just think that's the makeup of who we have, and it takes everybody. We got to coach better. I certainly appreciate you bringing Sid. I brought back some great memories, and that's when I walked and I knew Tommy was such a big baseball fan. I said, if I don't get him, he found that he was here. But guys like that for all the things they've accomplished, yet still, that they've got a great perspective on things. Again, really what matters most. And you know what, Furman football matters a lot. And it matters a lot to these guys. I know it matters to you, and it's going to matter big time on Saturday. But it's just trying to stay off the peaks and out of the valleys. And Saturday was a valley. Saturday was a valley, and we're climbing out of the valley. And we'll go out there today and have a great week of practice, and I expect our guys to go play. Sometimes things like that are good wake-up calls.
It's for all three, and Luke, you can start with this, but it just so happens that Wofford's the next game that you're going to have, and it's always a big game. Any more relevance to it because of the way you played last week, or just Wofford in general, how you guys look at it?
To be honest, no. Every week we play in the SoCon, it feels like it's a rivalry week, honestly. Feels like we've always got a target on our back. But in all honesty, this is just another stepping stone to help the 2025 Furman Paladins kind of be the team we want to be. So happens that it's Wofford, and I'd hope we take the same intensity every week, no matter who it is. I certainly want to win this game, and it only makes it better that, what happened last week, or, more motivation, but I don't think anything really changes too much.
Wofford has made a gradual transition from running to throwing, and they have this year, I don't know, those of us who've been watching Wofford play all our lives, we can't believe the highlights we look at. But is that, when you come off a team that's prolific passing-wise like Western Carolina, is it good to face another team that throws the ball a good bit?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you look at him, Coach Watson, he's been a successful offensive guy for years, and have a lot of respect for him. And I think they want to be balanced. I think they really do, I want to be balanced, and we've changed a little bit over time. I don't know, does it make or you're not having to get ready for an under center triple team or a gun triple team? Yeah, it makes that transition a little bit easier. They're probably a little more true of a traditional look. I think we do a lot of the similar things, so I think that learning curve's a little different than what maybe we saw last week with them. But it's they want to run it, and if we don't stop the run, they'll keep running it. The game the other day, I think it was 14-14 game late in the third, and then they just started running it, and I think Norfolk State they had 14 plays in the second half, maybe 7 in the fourth quarter, because they just kept the ball away from them. So I don't think that changes a whole lot. You still look at who they're trying to get, who their playmakers, who they're trying to get it to. Do they have tendencies? Did start a new quarterback who, again, he's certainly given them the ability this year. When you watch him, he's a transfer that has the ability to make throws, incomplete throws, and I'm sure that's why he played last week. And I'd be shocked if we don't see him this week, just based on how he played last week.
All right, Coach, we'll give you a chance to put a wrap on things as we draw this week's Furman Football Weekly to a close. I misspoke earlier. I had just recorded Inside Furman Athletics, so forgive me, Hunter Reed. But, Coach, wrap it up.
No, just certainly excited to go play again. We just need to have, we need to worry about Tuesday, and that's the day. Go have a great day of practice. We have a Spartanburg Saturday. We got a noon kickoff, and y'all know me. I like those early kickoffs, so excited about that. And, got a chance to go win 5, win 3 in the Southern Conference, and nothing else really matters. Again, have a great week of prep, and looking forward to go seeing how much better we can play.
Well, we'll remind our fans, first of all, we want as many of you as possible to make the short run up I-85 to Wofford and be at the game in person. If you can't make it, then you can join us on the radio broadcast. Of course, it'll be on ESPN Plus TV as well. But radio-wise, we'll begin with a little breakfast and football for the Pepsi Countdown to kick off at 10:30. The kick is at noon. You can listen via the Fan Upstate, and if you go to the game, you want to listen while you're in the stands, you can dial it in right there at 97.1 FM in Spartanburg, one of our Furman affiliates. That will take care of this week's edition of Furman Football Weekly with Clay Hendricks. Thanks to Riley Herbert. Thanks to Luke Pettit. And for all of us at Furman, I'm Dan Scott. God bless you, and so long, everybody.